In this video, we're going to demonstrate configuring Shared Memory Communications Direct version 2, also known as SMC v2. So I'm in the Network Configuration Assistant. We're in the TCP/IP profile technology. We have a stack selected. Let's go ahead and modify that stack. So we can go to Actions, Configure. Shared Memory Communications is in the Performance and Protocol section of TCP/IP configuration, so click that link. And then there's a Shared Memory Communications link. There are 4 tabs for Shared Memory Communications. The first tab is General Settings. You generally don't need to modify this. These default values are usually good. And then there's the SMCD settings. So the first thing you need to do is you need to enable SMCD. By default, it is not enabled, and Network Configuration Assistant by default does not provide configuration for it. If you want to configure SMCD, first you change this drop-down to say, rather than taking the default, I'm going to customize this property, and then you can check the box to enable SMCD. Once you've done that, you can optionally tweak a few performance fields. The maximum amount of 64-bit fixed memory that SMCD will use for buffers. The default is 256 megabytes, but you can change it here. You can also change the minimum keep alive interval that's sent on the TCP connection to keep it active. The default is 300. We're going to leave it alone here. So this enables SMCD. But to enable SMCD v2, you have to do a little bit of additional settings. You need to go to the SMC v2 settings tab, click that, and you need to define enterprise IDs. Now in this example, I already have an enterprise ID defined because I defined it for SMCR v2. You could just use this enterprise ID for SMCD, but there's a special field for SMCD. For SMCD, you can generate what's called a System Enterprise ID. A System Enterprise ID is an internal enterprise ID. It's built by the SMC v2 software, and what it does is it represents the particular machine that you're running on. Since SMCD is within a machine, this makes sense. If you have a System Enterprise ID generated, then every other stack on that KEK that has on the same machine that has a system ID generated will be able to talk to each other. So it's a nice default. And to set the system ID, simply select Customize the property, because once again the default is not to generate one. Click the box, and an enterprise ID will be generated for this system that will allow all of the stacks that also generate an enterprise ID on the same system to communicate using SMCD. The Data Center North enterprise ID that was configured for SMCR v2 is still active. So when I click OK, I've now configured for SMCD. So let's look at the configuration that generated. With the stack selected, once again, we can select Install Configuration Files. And in this panel, we can click on a configuration file to look at it. We see, first of all, that the interface, the OSA, is enabled for SMCD. That's by default. We create a global config SMCD system EID to generate the system enterprise ID. And that's all you need to do SMCD v2, even though it can also use the Data Center North Enterprise ID if you prefer to restrict which systems on your KEK can use it.